Yeah, I never thought I would be interested in going into business for myself, but I was kind of hitting a bit of a wall when I was working at marketing agencies, and I had some other friends, actually the co-founders of Proposify at the time. We knew each other back then, and they had left to kind of go out on their own, and they really encouraged me and talked me into it. I'm not a big personal brand builder. I think in the social media sense, but I think in the networking sense of in terms of the people that I connect with, the relationships that I've maintained over the years, because that's really where all my career growth has come from.
Hi all, good morning. So today I have someone with us who is all about crafting stories, building brands. Let's welcome Jennifer on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, who is Director of Brand and Communications at a fast-growing company. Hi Jennifer, how are you doing today?
Good, Menel, how are you?
I am doing well. So Jennifer, let's get right into it. Thank you so much, first of all, for coming on. So can you share a little more about your journey in marketing and communications from your early days to your current role at Proposify?
Sure. So I've had probably an unconventional journey to my career in marketing and communications. I actually have a degree in Spanish. And I always thought I would get into international development or something along those lines. But it's funny, the route that life takes you. Writing was always a passion of mine, even when I was younger, and storytelling and communication. And I found my way into the marketing agency world, and that's where I really found, like, my passion, the people I like to work with, the kinds of working with different businesses and organizations to help them communicate better and tell their story. And it sort of snowballed from there. And I ended up at Proposify 8 years ago, when it was a very small startup. And it's grown a lot since then. And it's just really been interesting how my skills have changed and grown over the years.
No, that makes sense. And I know that some of your previous experience focused on copywriting, now focusing on much more brand strategy. How do you think all of those contributed to your current role, which is Director of Brand plus Communications?
Well, brand is really about telling a story. So I think copywriting dovetails into that, because even when you're thinking about copywriting, no matter what it is, you're thinking about the story that you need to tell. You're thinking about, I used to say that I put ideas into people's heads as a copywriter. And that's similar to brand. You want to create an expectation, you want to create an experience. And I think copywriting helps build that. And the same for communications. Like, I've been involved in internal communications a lot, and that's a similar thing. You want to tell a story to your employees and to your team to keep them engaged. So there's a lot of similarities there. Plus, I think improved writing and communication skills are critical to no matter what role you're in, and in your both in your professional and personal life. The better you can communicate, the better results you're going to get out of everything.
I love that. A follow-up question for that is, we've been seeing this recent trend towards branding yourself. At first, it used to be how companies need to brand themselves to attract and retain the best talent. Now it's about how individuals present themselves when they're applying for jobs regarding what they brand themselves as. So, because your career mostly focuses on that, Jennifer, professionally and career-wise, how can an individual brand themselves that would make them a much more attractive candidate when they're applying for jobs?
That's a really good question. And I kind of have a controversial take on it, I think. I'm not a big personal brand builder, I think, in the social media sense, but I think in the networking sense of in terms of the people that I connect with, the relationships that I've maintained over the years, because that's really where all my career growth has come from, is expanding that network, and in a way that is authentic. We've all probably experienced really random reach outs on LinkedIn, and they think that's the way they're growing their network, but there's no substance there. So I think it's really important, just as one example, is don't just send a LinkedIn request and like kind of what sounds like a chat GPT message about why you want to connect with me, like really make it authentic. Let me know that you've looked into me a little bit or my company or something, looked at my experience, and maybe there's something we can relate, share an article, something like that. So I'm really more about the engagement rather than just pushing out this image of who I am.
No, I think that makes sense because although AI is making lives easier, it's making everyone seem so much similar because a lot of people just use Chat GPT. They're like, type me this and it will come up with a prompt. And so many people might be doing this. So you just become saturated in the market of people who are trying too hard. So thank you so much for sharing that. Next question for you, Jennifer, would be is so you're responsible for brand strategy, and as all of us know, brand strategy comprises of different stages. It comprises of ideation, iteration, implementation. So based on your experience, what's been your favorite stage, and can you tell us more about what brand strategy actually entails in your day-to-day life when you work for Proposify?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part. What's been my favorite?
What's been your favorite part of brand strategy?
Okay, okay. Um, I really love how, even though it's frightening at the beginning when I'm in the ideation stage, and I always think like, oh my gosh, I've got nothing. I've got no ideas. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I'm going to be a flop. I'm going to look dumb in the meeting. I've got nothing. And learning to trust the creative process and put the work in of really exploring different inspirations and really researching what I'm trying to do. I love the moment where that fear that it feels like my tank is empty into like hitting on an idea that I know then is going to build out from there. That is just such a, I actually even prefer that feeling to when the brand strategy is complete and all the pieces are fitting into place. Like that's fantastic as well, but I just love that moment when I know, oh, I'm onto something here. This is going to go somewhere. That's really exciting to me. And when I'm able to communicate that idea to other people in the team or to a client, depending on how you're working, and that they get it, that is just like a huge win for me.
Okay, no, I think that makes sense because sometimes, although it might be frightening, but the results that come from it are the things that you remember for the rest of your life. So that is definitely sounds very amazing. My next question, Jennifer, would be is you've run your own consulting business for a while as well. Can you elaborate a little more on that? What did you learn? What were some of the biggest takeaways for you?
Yeah, I never thought I would be interested in going into business for myself, but I was kind of hitting a bit of a wall when I was working at marketing agencies, and I had some other friends, actually the co-founders of Proposify at the time. We knew each other back then, and they had left to kind of go out on their own, and they really encouraged me and talked me into it. And I thought I didn't have too much to lose. Like if it didn't work out, then I would just go back, find a traditional job. But I learned to love it. And one of the things I loved about it is the ability to pick and choose my own clients and even fire the ones that were terrible. Now, fortunately, I didn't have to do a lot of that, but you work for someone else or you work in a different situation. Sometimes you have no control over the kind of people you work with, both on a team level and also as clients, and it can be really demoralizing and frustrating to do. So that freedom to be able to, for the most part, pick the kind of projects I wanted to work on and the kind of people I wanted to work with, I loved that so much. And also being able to work with so many different kinds of clients and different kinds of other practitioners, like maybe web designers or graphic designers or other strategists. I loved that variety a lot.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I think having the flexibility because sometimes you come across difficult clients and you're like, okay, this is part of my job, but do I want to do the work or do I not want to? So I think just having the flexibility and being true to yourself is something that's very important. And I'm glad you got to experience that. Which brings me to my last question, Jennifer. You worked with a company which is growing. You had your own consulting firm. What is one piece of key advice that you took from either you starting on your own business or working for a company that has stuck with you throughout these years?
I think it really comes back to being fully engaged. I have, you and what I mean by that, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, networking and building your brand and that sort of thing, is that um, you can't just plug in and plug out, like just timestamp your card when you're doing something. Like, I'm a big believer, yes, of course there's so-called work-life balance, but it's always been important to me, for example, at Proposify, that I got to know, or try to get to know, everybody in the company, not just the people directly on my team or who I work with directly. And I think that that's really important, because it helps you give a better sense of everything that's going on at the company, to understand the bigger scope of what's happening. That is excellent networking, because you never know where people are going to end up and what those relationships will be. And getting to know people beyond just the tasks that you're sharing on a project, but getting to know them personally. Now, all of them, you may not be best friends with every single one of them, but I've always prided myself on finding that personal connection. And it means, my personal and professional network is always growing, and has been very beneficial over the years.
I think that is beautiful because I think a lot of people look at relationships as transactional, where they're like, I'm going to reach out to this person should help me get this and everything. When people need to realize that there's a human sitting behind the screen. And I think with more people using social media, a lot of people tend to forget that. So this sums up our conversation, Jennifer. Thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your journey across brand strategy, what you've learned along the way, and most importantly, how you view human relationships and why you should invest in them. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.